How many Harry Potters does it take to screw in a light bulb? One. He holds it, and the world revolves around him. This should be obvious that the Harry Potter series is about Harry Potter. Every book in the series has his name in the title, and the purpose is quite clear. It's a coming-of-age story, a Bildungsroman, if you will, that follows very loose but similar methods to the story. Tina Capeva writes on page 126 of her paper, Harry Potter, Tanya Grotter, and Death in the Coming-of-Age novel, that Harry Potter follows in the tradition of Great Expectations or Jane Eyre in this story, which follows 5 key points. It belongs to the old genre of boarding school novels. Their characters do not develop, their plots and puzzles are predictable. And I think it kind of differs in the fact that Harry and Hermione and Ron develop, but the rest of the characters don't. Um, the only time we hear about Dean Thomas is if he's snogging Ginny or something or announcing. Um, but the main character is isolated from the world. The character learns about life in a school setting. Their morals are challenged, and the characters must deal with the consequences of their choices. The author tends to make a social commentary about the world based on the events in the novel. The first book, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, begins with one-year-old Harry being brought to live with the Dursleys after Voldemort, the dark wizard who is the primary antagonist in this series, murders his mother and father. His has to go live with his aunt and uncle and their one-year-old son. Professor McGonagall, a teacher at Hogwarts, says on page 13 of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, "You couldn't find two people who are less like us." Um, he is made to live under the staircase in a little room, um, and any talk or event that's unexplainable, like him ending up on a rooftop of the school, which the reader can fathom as magic, is Harry is beaten, while Dudley Dursley, the cousin, is doted on and shown to receive an excess of affection. The journey starts when Harry is told, "Harry, you're a wizard," by Hagrid, the gamekeeper at Hogwarts, the one who actually got him from uh, the blown up house in Godric's Hollow and brought him to live with the Dursleys. Um, Finally bringing Harry out of the isolation he experienced with the Muggles and into the world he belonged. The first year is full of learning about the new world and ends with Voldemort on the back of Professor Quirrell, a teacher at Hogwarts, uh, giving Harry a challenge. The second year is a younger Voldemort, with no spoilers of later books, challenging Harry. It comes to the school's attention after the first attack by the basilisk that Harry is a Parselmouth, or someone who can talk to snakes. This was a signature of Salazar Slytherin, one of the 4 founders of Hogwarts, who built the Chamber of Secrets where we learn that the basilisk lives. But when Harry tries to save someone in a dueling club, remember it's Harry's world, just kidding, Justin Finch Fletchley, from a conjured snake, the school learns that he is a Parselmouth. The school begins to be wary of Harry because people are petrified, and Chamber of Secrets is open, and Harry speaks Parseltongue. On page 109 of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Ernie Macmillan says that Parseltongue is the mark of a dark wizard. But after saving the day, at the end of the school year again, how kind of Voldemort to wait until exams are finished, he is conflicted over his ability. And Dumbledore tells him on page 333 that our choices are, Harry, show we indeed are far more than our abilities. Now Harry has a choice. Let Parseltongue define him and think of himself as a bad wizard, or realize the fact that he used it for good, was able to enter the Chamber of Secrets and save Ginny. Um, he's a good person. Peter Childs writes on page 123 of his paper, popular novel The Ethics of Harry Potter, that the books allow multiple cultural groups to identify with the values inscribed in the text, not because they are culturally pluralistic, but because they avoid the complexities of life that might be experienced by the reader. So, meaning that the morals happen in context. They don't happen because Harry's poor or because Harry's cultural um, ethnicity. When it wants to touch on, when the novel wants to touch on love, it does. When it wants to touch on money, it does. The moral choices, right or wrong in a strict sense, as we readers don't see the background of it, we just know this is Harry's character, this is what he's going to do. This is the right thing to do, this is what he's going to do, this is what he has to do. He does make some choices that we're not particularly aware of or what fit the character, and that shows that Harry has evolved. Like he wanted to kill Sirius Black, he chose not to kill Peter Pettigrew. In fact, on page 375 of Prisoner of Azkaban, he yells, "No!" Harry yelled. He ran forward, placing himself in front of Pettigrew, facing the wands. "You can't kill him," he said breathlessly. "You can't." Now, is this a change that he doesn't think that Sirius and Lupin should be killers? Yes, that's what the book explicitly states, but also he now knows he needs to clear Sirius's name, and that's how he's going to do it. We learn that Harry has morals and that he's growing as a person. Confronted with the truth, spur of the moment, he chooses not to let Sirius and Lupin kill Pettigrew. Later on in the book, he defies the will of the Ministry of Magic to save a hippogriff and Sirius, showing his growth. The next portion of a coming-of-age novel is morals and consequences. The results of choices are consequences, and Harry must deal with the consequences of his actions. During the events of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Harry chooses to share the prize with Cedric, and Harry's moral choice is one of fairness. On page 634 of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, he tells Cedric that we'll take it simultaneously. We'll take it at the same time. It's still a Hogwarts victory. We'll tie for it. The results of his actions are the cup or trophy is not just a trophy. It's a port key, a device that teleports people to other places. And it was only meant for Harry to take. We learn later in the book that Barty Crouch Jr. Rigged the game, as you will, to make sure that Harry was the only one to reach the cup. And at the end, he ends up tying with Cedric. And they both go to the graveyard where Voldemort's father was buried. And on the arrival, we get the words that will change Harry's life forever. Kill the spare. And Cedric dies. This moment is a transformation point in the Harry Potter series where he almost is grown up, but has a few more steps left, but he has mastered quite a bit more than the average 14-year-old. The final part of a Bildungsroman comes from the fact that the author will generally use the world they have created to make a pointed social commentary. The novels constantly display inept government officials, corruption, prejudice, and social injustice that hold a mirror to real-life issues and ask the reader to reflect upon their society. On page 52 of his paper, Harry Potter's Adolescence and the Bildungsroman Tradition, Tyson Pugh writes clear examples of what social commentary looks like. In a setting where most characters deeply fear the reemergence of Voldemort, wizards and witches remain largely unaware of the social dangers already threatening them, as the ideological order underpinning the wizarding world appears unconcerned with key issues of justice and ethics. When the basilisk petrifies, Hagrid is sentenced to Azkaban without a trial. When Hermione is shocked to see Executioner Walden McNair attend Buckbeach's trial as his presence portends a gross miscarriage of justice, they're bringing the executioner to the appeal. On page 703 of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Fudge looked as though someone had just swung a heavy weight into his face. after he's been told Voldemort has been restored to his body, and that's the moment we know he's not going to believe anybody. When house elves are treated like slaves and given clothes, and that ends their world, we don't know how to feel, because we feel like that they should be happy to be free, but Dobby's the only one that's happy he's ever free, whereas Winky drinks butterbeer and her life falls apart from not being able to do the role that she's expected to do. Um, J.K. Rowling explores Harry's growth in her Harry Potter series in the traditional Bildungsroman style. When you look at comparative literature, you can see elements of this novel borrowed from and taken from other uh, stories. One of my favorite sketches comes from Studio C, pointing out the similarities between different books and Harry Potter. So, hope you enjoyed this presentation on Frodo and Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. Sorry, I meant Luke Skywalker and the Star Wars series by George Lucas. Um, Sorry, I meant Jane Eyre by Charlie Prompt. Um, sorry, Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. But alas, our time is short, and I must bid farewell. Mischief managed.
Chances are, if you're watching this video, you've been tasked with finding a credible definition for a funny-sounding literary term called Bildungsroman. There's an even greater chance that if you're searching for this term,